Hey, all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly value, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. Hey there, my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel. I'm your hostess, femininity coach, and author of The Crimson Cure, and this is my perspective. So right here, we have a clip of a recent interview that Shannon Sharpe did with Sheryl Underwood. And I don't know much about Sheryl Underwood, her character or her personality or, or anything about her. So this clip, it was unexpected for me. This is just a small snippet of that interview, which you can go to Shannon Sharpe's YouTube page and watch the entire thing. But this is what she had to say about a question about whether or not she's the breadwinner in her household. And here was her take.
In the breadwinner in a relationship?
I'm not the breadwinner in the relationship. You mean any man I'm with?
Yeah.
I'm not the breadwinner in the relationship.
But would you be okay if you were?
I'm not. There's no man I know from you or he got a regular job. He work at a warehouse. He is the head of the household. He is the breadwinner. I will chip in as he see fit because he's the head. Now, this is the way I was raised. A lot of women not going to agree with me.
No, they ain't going to agree with that.
I'm cool if you don't.
The breadwinner, he has normally, that person has the larger voice in the relationship.
Even if I make more money, it doesn't make me the breadwinner.
Oh, okay.
I am advice and concurrence. He is the head of the household. This is what I believe.
You got the money, you making the money.
No, this is what I believe. He's a man. He is the head of households. People need to start reading Ephesians. That's what I believe. I may be strong-willed. I may make money. I want to make his life better and easier, but I'm not the head of the household.
Are you okay?
And I thought that was well said. I know nothing of Sheryl Underwood's love life, her romances. I'm not necessarily interested in it either. However, her take in this particular clip, I agree 100%. Too many times, us as Black women in general, and even the men do it too. This is not even just a woman thing, it's a man thing too. Tie the finances to the authority. Okay? Because even our men, and you can hear it in these conversations that we have online, believe that if he pays more, he has more authority. Rarely do you ever hear men say if they pay less, they have less authority. What they'll say is the woman won't respect him as much if he doesn't pay 100% of the bills, or if he doesn't make a certain amount of money, or if he doesn't make more than her. The women 100% who agree with money being tied to the authority, definitely they agree with that sentiment that if he doesn't pay 100% of the bills, if he doesn't make more than her, and all of that, then his voice in the relationship is diminished. His authority in the relationship also diminished. That money and authority, that money is what gives the authority to an individual in the relationship. And it's a deep thing to think about, because this is where a lot of that I don't need a man concept comes from as well. Is because women were somehow, at some point in time, women began to associate heavily that income equaled whether or not there was authority in the relationship. And upon being able to procure an income that they could actually sustain themselves off of, regardless of whether they were married or not, women began to think, well, I don't need a man because the money gave me the authority. And even if I get into a romantic relationship, if I make more money, then even if I don't have authority over him, he certainly doesn't have authority over me. And so therefore, if I make more money than him, or I contribute more money to the household than he does, even if it's temporary, whether it's temporary or whether that's just the way that it's set up, doesn't matter. The respect does go down. And the woman, Black women specifically, claim that they can't see their men the same way. They can't see them respectively. They can't see them with an eye of, I still respect him and he's still the authority and he's still the head of the household, whether his money is at a certain level, not at a certain level, exceeds a certain level, whatever the case may be. And you can hear that when they say, well, I need a man on my level. They're not talking about character. They're not talking about any other aspect of this man other than his finances. Okay? Because again, in a lot of Black women's minds, the authority is attached to the money, which is where they get a lot of that pseudo masculine energy from, wanting to be dominant in the relationship. If she makes a few dollars, whether she significantly makes more than him or it's just by a small margin, she's gonna think the same. And what Sheryl said is really the thing that's missing out of marriages nowadays, which makes these marriages untenable. The concept that money is the thing that provides the authority in the household to either the man or the woman, whoever makes more. When the reality is that if you marry a man, not your shacking up boyfriend, not your little, if you marry a man, then you have accepted that man as your authority. He is representative of the authority in your life. He becomes your spiritual guide and leader, like he's your spiritual leader. Like you, whatever his spiritual leanings are, his belief system is, it is assumed that you agree with that belief system. In other words, your values align in the most important areas in life. They align, right? Idealistically, you have placed yourself as a wife under the authority of a man that you and his values align. Such that, and this is important, because when values don't align, submission is not there. Okay? So if we're talking about wives and husbands in an idealistic way, then we're saying that a woman is also vetting a husband to ensure that their values align so that things like compliance, cooperation, and submission are not problematic down the line. Okay? When values align, when things like the respect is there, and she understands why he is the authority. And we're leaning this more into a spiritual realm because she actually brought up Ephesians, right? She didn't quote the chapter verse, but she brought up the book. So she's saying that this mindset that she's articulating to Shannon is based in her spiritual value, is what she's saying. So if we're coming from that aspect, then we understand that the authority of a husband is not given to him based on how much annual income he makes. It's based on the fact that the Most High gave him that authority when he assumes the mantle of husband. Yes, he gains the authority over a wife when he becomes the husband. That is where the authority comes from. It doesn't come from his pocket. It doesn't come from whatever his annual income is. And if a woman has chosen a man to be her head, then the authority that she recognizes is also from the same source. She realizes that the Most High gave him the authority along with the position, period. Now, if your husband that you chose to be underneath is a no good shiftless bum, why did you choose to be underneath a no good shiftless bum that doesn't contribute anything and that doesn't have anything to contribute to the furthering of a relationship? Why did you pick a man that you can't respect? Right? That's where the sentiment of choose better comes from, because it's the overall character and integrity of the person that you choose. Like, if this person's integrity and character is questionable to begin with, and it's sketchy whether or not you even trust this person's judgment, or you trust their leadership, or you trust their foresight, and you trust like how they even navigate in life at all, this is not a man that you should put yourself under. You should not, as a woman, as a wife, as a woman who is truly wife material, should never knowingly put herself underneath the headship of a man that she cannot trust. That is a problem from the start. The marriage will never go right. It's going to end because there's no relationship without trust in the first place. Right? So, circling back to what Sheryl is saying here, is that she's recognizing that the income is not the source of the authority. So that's why she's saying it doesn't matter if he's Shannon, which is a multimillionaire, right? He's among the 1%, and all of that in terms of his income. Or we're talking about a guy who works the warehouse floor. Doesn't matter, because if that man is my husband, then that's where his authority is coming from. And that breadwinner is tied to the concept of authority. So what she's doing is she's placing the concept of breadwinner in its proper place. Because I know that, like culturally, or it is understood that breadwinning, bringing home the bacon, is the person that brings home the money, right? And traditionally, that has been tied to the man, and the man in turn has been tied to the position of authority. So if you're talking about 100 years ago, right? Women did not have the a way to be in the job market like the men did. So the men had much more opportunity to work and make money. Men were also considered, if they were married, the head of the household. So his authority as the husband and head of the household was also inclusive of, well, he was the one that was going to pull in the most money, or all the money, either all the money or the vast majority of it that was coming into the household. So women, collectively speaking, especially when feminism began to try to cut out the man as sort of, oh, he's just the middleman, They made the association from authority to money while skipping over the man, skipping over the husband portion of that equation. If what I'm saying is makes sense to y'all. So feminism tried to remove men and say, well, men are just the middleman between authority and money. Well, we could just remove him because his authority is coming from his income. It's the fact that he can make money that makes him lord over you. So if you make as much money or a comparable amount of money, he can no longer lord over you. And if you make more money than him, you can lord over him. Or at bare minimum, he can no longer lord over you because his authority, quote unquote, came from his income. That's not true. The husband authority came from the same place that the title of husband even came from, and that's the Most High. Okay? I keep telling y'all that marriage is not a secular invention. The institution, the concept of an actual husband and wife, that comes from the Most High, which is why he talks about it in his holy books. Okay? And which is why he defines it there. We find the definitions of it in the Quran. We find the definition of husband and wife in the Bible, so forth and so on. Right? Because if we look at the secular definitions, we're only going to see a man that's married, a woman that's married, that's a wife. Now, it's more than that. There's an actual definition, actual defining things that make you a husband, that make you a wife. And if you don't fulfill them and you consistently don't, then you jeopardize actually that mantle. You jeopardize it. Okay? That's why divorce is something that the Most High did not outlaw. Now there's rules to it, but he didn't outlaw it because there are things that a husband can do and a wife can do that jeopardizes their whole thing. They can no longer hold that title. They have usurped the rights or not observed the rights of the position. They have not observed it properly on a consistent basis. Therefore, they cannot hold it. It's like going into any other position. If you don't perform properly and you consistently don't, you're going to get demoted. You're not going to hold that position. You can't. You can't hold the position. You don't get the position and then you get to do anything and you can keep the position. It doesn't work like that. So therefore, there's a definition for what is a husband, what is a wife? What do husbands do? What do wives do? Right? How are they supposed to interact with each other? What does that look like? So the same source that introduced and defined what is a husband and what is a wife is the same one that applied authority in the manner that he applied it. It all comes from the Most High. The authority is in the husband's hand. That's a part of his mantle. It's a part of it. Is he supposed to abuse that mantle? No. But it is there. And it doesn't have anything to do with his money. Did the Most High say that men are the providers and maintainers of women? Yes, he did. Does that include finances? It does. Is that 100% what the provision is? No. Maintaining and providing goes beyond the scope of finances. And feminism tricked women out of understanding that, which is why they thought that they could do things without men, because they applied the value of a man to his dollar while ignoring what his provision actually is. The financial provision is just a percentage. It's just a part of what he provides. and men, and even sometimes men tend to focus on that because that's a tangible thing that he provide. But really, the bulk majority of what men provide as husbands in relationships is actually not tangible. The money's tangible. Buying stuff, doing stuff, getting stuff done, working. That's tangible. The other things that he provides, the emotional stability, the anchoring, and all of that is emotional. That is not tangible. That is abstract. Spiritual leadership come from an abstract place. It doesn't always have to be intangible, but it comes from an abstract place. His foresight comes from an abstract place too. Okay. His masculine light, abstract. But all of those things are part of the provision that has a real concrete result attached to them. So in other words, I agree with what Sheryl said. And if more women actually had that mindset, more marriages would work, regardless of, oh, he got to make $150,000 a year. See, all of that talk would go out of the window. And women would focus more on who the man is rather than what he has. Jump down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you have not. Once again, I'm your host, Sister Crimson Cure, and this was my perspective. Bye-bye, Crimsonites.